bitches.
Hi, hello. Welcome back to another episode of Dawn and Its Light, Part 4.
Part 4, starting at chapter 15. So where we left off was Nox was like, "Hey, Amaris, can you come look at this? I think it might be important." And Amaris goes over to help or to look at it, and Nox is like, "What does that look like to you?" And Amaris is looking, and she's like, "There's something under the ice. Like, what the fuck is that? There's a shape beneath the ice." And she starts to like kick the snow off so she can see what the shape is. And Nox is like, "No, don't kick the snow. You're gonna mess up the print." And it's like,
Because they're both looking at two different things.
they are. Nox is looking at a paw print in the snow. That is the width of at least 3 human hands with the jagged punctures of what could only be claws. And she's like, "What do you think is in the ice?" And Nox is like, "There's nothing there." And she's like, "No, right there, right below us in the ice. Like, what is that?" And Nox is like, "Stop. There's nothing there. Like, what? You're the animal expert. I wanted you to come look at this print." And then Amara says, it clicks. And she's like, "Holy fucking shit." And also, like, it irritates me how long it takes both of them, or all of them, to realize that she's not fucking around. Because they're all like, "What are you talking about?" And she's like, "It's here." And she's like shoving Nox and trying to get her to get back in the ship. And none of them are listening. Amaris is fucking running. I'm sorry. I don't give a fuck who it is. It could be a stranger running down the street looking like they're scared. I'm gonna run too, okay? I'm not gonna just stand here. I'm gonna run too. Like, and you know that she can see whatever this beast is, and y'all gonna just stand there when she's like, "Go, it's here."
Yeah. She's got the gift of sight, and everyone's just kind of looking at her like, huh?
Yeah, all of them. They're like, and then finally, their military training kicks in, and Yaslin grabs Tanith, and Gadriel grabs Nox and Ash and flies them up into the air, while Amaris is, I guess, trying to figure out what she's going to do next. She said, "Come and get me, motherfucker."
It's like, okay, let's do this.
She's sitting here panicking, and the whole time I'm like, if somebody don't choke this bitch, I don't know, turn her on something. We need a shockwave, please.
I was thinking the same thing. I was like, are you fucking serious?
Yes! Like, ah! And they call this thing, so here's the description. "The horned white beast was an amalgamation of every horrific beast. It snarled with the enormous maw of a wolf. It ran with the lithe feline movements of a predatory cat. Each jolt of its muscle forced the white shag fur of Snow Bear to ripple and move as it ran." So, like, it's like a giant dog cat polar bear.
Yeah. It's cute as fuck, though.
Right? What I'm imagining is Falcor from the Neverending Story.
Oh, I was like, hold up, what? I'm just imagining like a giant feline-esque polar bear with horns.
Yeah.
But more puppy dog based.
Yeah. That's why I say the guy from the Neverending Story, because I feel like he looks like a giant puppy dog, but his body is long, like a cat's. He doesn't have horns, though. But, yeah, so she finally gets her shockwave going to... Ooh, first she has... They all come back to the ground, or Yaslin starts helping fight it, even though she can't really see it. and they end up getting hit by it and knocked to the ground. And Tanith shields to protect them. And then she gets her shockwave.
Without what's his nuts.
Yeah, she just gets to use it because she's got a plan. And she notices that it has a shackle around its leg, like its front leg. And so she's got a plan now. What the fuck just happened? Sorry, technical difficulty for a second there. So she uses her shockwave a second time to knock out the beast, kind of. It's kind of like dazed. And she has Gadriel come over after he drops Nox and Ash in Tanith's shield. And he uses his secondary power that can unlock things? Because his heat is his first power.
I think it's just one of those, like, random ass things that he can do without...
Okay. Yeah, so he uses whatever power he has to, like, unlock the shackle. And then they can all see it.
And that poor baby.
And not only can they all see it now, but it's not just a cuff. On the inside of it, it has spikes that bite into the monster's flesh as if to prevent the shackle from slipping. I was wondering, is that not actually powering the shackle? Is it blood magic? That was one theory that I had. And with that, was it the church that did it? And like, it's a manufactured cuff that the blood magic is maintained through the creature's blood. Is what was my wonder.
Maybe.
But now Tanith has seen the creature, so she's able to bind it.
Only for a little bit, though, because Nox works her fucking powers, and this is the puppy dog I described.
Yes. And then she's like, we did it. And Gadriel's like, you did it. And I'm like, Tanith did it.
Yeah.
Like, what? I mean, I guess Amaris's plan and everything is what got it visible. But, like, if it weren't for Tanith, what? Like, yeah, now you can see it, but now what?
Yeah, so when she said, we did it.
That was more correct, yes.
That was teamwork.
They all worked together and did it. Amaris could see it, Gad got the lock off, and then Tanith found it. But
and here's the thing, too. I was like, okay, so, like, if the ship, they can't get back into the ship, are they just all gonna ride them?
That's what I thought.
Giddy up, let's go.
That's what I thought.
And then I was like, okay, why was he wearing that? Yeah. Is he, like, a captured beast or whatever of Soulgrave, of the church?
Yeah, what's going on there? But that is the end of chapter 15. And then the beginning of chapter 16, well, kind of the beginning, more the bottom of page 183 into 184, Nox is like, can I try something? Because they're like, can you call the Arborio to us to help us no matter where it is? Like, because they harness it to the ship and it's pulling the ship. And they're going so much faster now. And she's like, can you call it to us no matter where it is? And Tanith says, I can do anything. And Nox is like, wait, let me try something. And they're all like,
excuse me?
I don't think so. Which, first of all, when are they going to learn to just listen to Nox? Because, like,
it's It's so funny because she's like, "Can I try something?" She goes, "No, let me rephrase that. I'm your queen and I'm going to try something."
Yeah. And they're all like, they're still arguing with her. Yasmin's like, oh, come on. And Gad goes, no, Nox, don't be absurd. And like,
oh, be absurd. This is going to be worth it.
Yeah. And
Do
so
it.
Amaris goes, I know you couldn't see the creature for half the battle, so clearly you don't fear it as you should, but. And Nox is like, nah, we freed it from its shackle. I was thinking I might offer it some meat without Tana's control. We're just going to attempt it. And they're all like, what? And I've decided that I am Nox.
Yeah.
Because she gives it some meat, she makes Tana heal it. And now it loves her. And it's her pet.
It's so funny though, because like she's got like all these funny little quips.
Yeah.
Because she's like, you can cast a shield around me if you like, whatever, but I'm just wondering if the creature could be one to our side. Nox, don't be absurd. I don't seem to recall being met with similar resistance. Or I seem to recall being met with similar resistance when I went into Tanith to our side. How are you doing, Tanith? I'm cold and would like to get back to the ship. See, best of friends. Honestly,
Yeah.
Nox and her quips like make the series.
They really do.
But
and then on the
she's so smart because I would do the same thing.
Yeah, I agree.
That's a big old snow puppy.
And she's like, look at it, it loves me. And they're like, Nox. And she says, and I love it. You can't be serious. Please, for the love of the goddess. I want to keep it. Me.
Same.
Facts. Me.
Like, you know, it don't even matter. I could be out and I could be like, oh, look at that baby. And everyone's like, that could be you. It's a baby. Look how cute it is.
Yeah. Yep. I want to keep it. Yes. So now she's a badass queen of 2 kingdoms. And
they say it like that too.
Yeah.
Because she's over there cuddling it, getting all the warmth in.
And she names it Fiala. Which Snowflake. In the mountain dialect means snowflake. And Amaris does not like that.
She is mad. She's like,
that's my nickname, bitch.
Yeah.
And you just named your pet that? I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, I did, bitch. What of it?
Yeah. And then now they're moving fast, right? Because Fiala makes their travel a lot faster. And what was that? Oh, 191. Nox or Tanith is they're asking Tanith questions again, and Tanith is she's quiet. She as they're
yeah.
Yeah, they're off the ship now, and they are walking to Sulgrave. And it starts to get warmer, and then Gadriel's like, is there a mountain pass, or do we have to climb? Tanith didn't say anything, and then he goes, he's getting mad, and it says, you've been getting quieter for days, Tanith, but your cooperation is vital. Will you please? And then Amaris goes, this won't achieve anything. If she doesn't want to talk, she's not going to talk. But she's not going to let us walk down the wrong path. If not for herself, then for Ash. I'm sure she'll point us where we need to go when we get there. And I'm like, where did this mature, level-headed Amaris come from? Who is this? Like, what's happening? And she's exactly right. Like, Tanith wouldn't allow anything like that to happen to Ash. So, they keep walking, and then all of a sudden, they see cities down in the middle of the mountains. Yeah. And at the last,
warm.
Yeah, and it's warm, which is weird. But the last sentence of this chapter, which is also the end of part 2 of the book, is Tanith saying, welcome to Sulgrave.
And it looks gorgeous.
It does, but I'm nervous.
Yeah.
Honestly, the description, it says it was triple obeyed size and more beautiful than Gwydir by a factor of 10. Spirals and peaks and glassy, reflective, towering structures and buildings were unlike anything she had seen. In my head, I'm seeing Oz.
Yeah.
Except maybe not green.
Just crystal
But
light.
also the glass castles and stuff are giving Throne of Glass.
There you go.
But then part 3 of the book is called Heart, Body, and Soul. So,
dun dun dun.
chapter 17. A group 7 white horses and their armed guards thunder down the path to intercept them. So these 7 guards show up and they're each wearing a different colors. Like each one of them was wearing a different color with sigils and on their chests with silver thread. So, and they're like, I'm like, what the fuck? What's happening? And they one of them says, Tanith the Red, you're wanted for crimes of war, intentional violence resulting in bodily harm and death, and misuses of magic in territories 1, 2, and 5. To your traveling companions, ensure they surrender you peaceably and voluntarily now to be judged by the Compte Council, or is it Compte?
I'll look it up.
To be judged by the council, or we are obligated to bring you to trial by force. And Ash is like, what? And I was just like, what the fuck? Like, what is happening? But Nox, the badass bitch that she is, she just pulls herself together and says, if you could give us a moment, I'm sure we're a strange sight. The Boryu is with us and poses no threat. The winged fae are from Gwydir. My companions here, Amaris and Ash, come from Umriv. My name is Nox, and I'm the sitting monarch for the continent's thrones. I seek an audience with your Comptus and asylum for Tanith as my ambassador while on your soil. And like, just what a queen. She just steps up and is the monarch that she is. And I was like, okay, Nox. And then I continue to say Nox is such a bad bitch a couple pages later because she just continues to just pull out this like bad bitch queenliness, and I love it.
Comte.
Comte? Okay.
Yeah, it means count in French.
Okay.
So it's a count of a county.
Okay.
The governor of sorts.
Yep. So they're like, we can escort you and your crew to the diplomatic hall so you can make your petition. For now, Tanith will need to come with us. And Fiala starts to follow Nox. And they're like, your beast? And she says, it stays with me. And I'm like, fuck yeah, she stays with me.
That's my baby puppy.
Bitch. But then continuing on, they get there and they're given, or they're taken to this, basically an embassy, where there is going to be rooms for them to stay in. And they're like, they're going to make accommodations for her pet as well as lodging for them. And they're also going to take Tanith to be held in protective custody. And I'm sorry. No, I'll be keeping both of them with me. I don't know you. I don't know that you're going to keep your promises. I don't know. I'm going to keep keeping both of them with me. Thank you. You can put her in shackles if you need to, but she's staying with me. So yeah, I know she's not being mistreated.
be that queenly person.
But I also understand that when you're in a potential hostile territory and opening negotiations and hopefully diplomatic relations, you have to make some concessions. So I suppose I understand, but also no.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. And then they, for a little bit, like try all of these cool manufactured items that they have. Like there's a ball or an orb that plays music, and
they're pretty high tech in
a
terms of
freezer or like an ice box. Yeah, they are.
yeah, they're pretty high tech in terms of like the southern continent.
Yeah, that's what I was like. So Soulgrave is living in the future?
Whoa. Sorry, I
What's
hit a button on my
happening?
phone.
So yeah, like
You
I was
ever
like,
just like click something on your phone on accident and then it just like keeps like getting touched and you're like,
yes,
go
the
away.
fuck is happening?
Yeah.
Yes.
I also like the new development on the whole Tana thing though, because like they're talking about sectors and it's like, are you talking about are the like are like at this point we don't know what sectors are.
Right.
So like it could just be sectors of the continent. So obviously she was a part of the group that did stuff like throughout the entire southern continent.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's not the case. Apparently she's kind of a dick too.
Right. And then another like thing that they do, like one of their things, and I later Knox makes a comment about this, but as soon as they give her a two-way mirror so she can see Fiala. As
That
soon
was
as
really
they gave
nice.
it to her, I was like, yeah, you can see her, but also anybody who looks at her mirror can see you.
Yeah. So like be
Because she
careful
gets
where
in
you
the
put it.
fucking bath with the mirror. Like, and I'm like, girl.
You're like,
But while she's in that bath, she drifts off to sleep. But as she's drifting, she's thinking about Malik.
yeah, she hasn't talked to him in a while.
Yes. And then as she's falling asleep, she's immediately like, fuck, I don't want to talk to him right now. I don't want to tell him about everything. But Malik is just Malik. He's like,
He's just really nice about it. Like, oh hi,
yeah.
come meet my dad.
Yeah. And then she's like, I'm just tired. I'd love to meet your father someday, but for now, let's just. And she's like, okay. And then they talk about how things are going in Obeyed. And then he's like, enough of him. I haven't heard from you in weeks. I'm not trying to sound particularly needy, but goddess, you've had me worried. What was it like crossing the frozen straits? Tell me about the people, Soulgrave, the city, the snow. Leave nothing out. And I'm like,
Everything.
oh, what a sweetie.
He just wants to travel.
Yeah. And then she tells him about some of it. And then she's like, oh, she tells him about Tanith and how she's like a criminal, and he's like, is there anything you can do about it? And then she shrugs and is like, and she's like, will you hold me? And he says, no more talking for now. And she says, no more talking for now. And then he holds her and she falls asleep again. And I'm just like, he is what she deserves. Like,
yeah. It's really nice to see like someone who doesn't ask questions, who doesn't like not necessarily demand things, but just like
yeah, he like respects her boundaries and
yeah,
all of it. I love it. And that's the end of chapter 17. And then chapter 18 she wakes up and goes looking for Gadriel. And she tells him about, okay, so there's these flowers. Inside each of their doors in their rooms is like a flower, and that flower is somehow magically connected to the flower bouquet at the front desk. And you can talk to the receptionist through the flowers. And she tells Gad about it, and he's like, if we can talk to them, there's no reason for us to believe that they can't hear whatever is being said in our rooms. So now,
true.
and so then she goes to get a pen off the desk and starts to write him a message. And he grabs that out of her hand because there are runes on the side of the quill. And this is when Knox realizes the two-way mirror, like they can see her as well.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like watching
And
her.
that's not gonna be good considering.
Yeah.
Well, I guess she wouldn't really care, but I mean, as the monarch, visiting monarch, probably shouldn't do that.
Yeah. So she goes and gets the quill from Amaris's bag. And she gives it to Gad, goes back to her room, and they start writing back and forth. And I was just like, of course, Gadriel has beautiful cursive handwriting, like calligraphy.
Yeah.
Of
What a
course
bitch.
he does.
What a bitch.
But they start asking, she asks questions, like, or she lists what she wants to talk about. And she's like, 1, Tanith is in prison. 2, Sulgrave is allowing the missions of powerful mercenaries to the continent. We need to figure out the role of the church in Sulgrave society. And then, do we have any hope of establishing diplomatic relations? And he is like, well, maybe Tanith deserves to be in prison. Let's table that for now. And then he mentions my parents made the pilgrimage across the straits and have lived in Sulgrave for the last 200 years. They'll be excellent resources in understanding culture and society. And I was like, oh, fuck, I forgot.
Like, I honestly, for some reason, I didn't think that they had made it. I knew there was...
didn't realize they were still alive.
Yeah, I knew there was conversations of him, going to Sulgrave, and not him, but them going to Sulgrave. But I didn't realize they actually made it. How does he know that? Did he get a letter?
Yeah, has there been communication?
Yeah, there has been. Why haven't you communicated with them more?
And why didn't they come back to help when Ceres lost his fucking mind?
True.
But yeah, then they are going to meet the Comtes.
Probably like Comtes.
Yeah. And we get descriptions of the different Comtes and start having conversations, really bickering if we're being real.
Yeah.
Because they're like, what do you how do we know what you're telling us is true? Why are we to believe your claim to the throne? And all of these things. And Alistair is the one that's being a butthead. Which, by the way, she's using all of the stuff she learned about reading people at the Selkie to dominate this meeting.
And she already sees that Alistair is confident, full of himself, that kind of stuff. And honestly, he's a little sketch. There's something sinister afoot happening here.
Yes.
And it's definitely the church.
Yeah. So
but
he's
if the government hasn't tried anything against them, I think one of them's involved.
Yeah, I agree. Because he's like, why are we to believe your claim to the throne? Our sources had last informed us that a human called Moray and a fae named Ceres rested comfortably between the north and the south. And she goes, well, Alistair, why don't I make you a bargain? For every question of mine you answer, I'll respond to one of yours. I think you'll agree that it's less pressing that I justify my heritage than it is that someone be held accountable for why assassins from Sulgrave have been sent to murder tens of thousands of citizens on the continent. And they're all like, and they start like talking in their own language instead of the common tongue. But I just like, I'm in love with her. I'm in love with Nox. She is just,
she's the best.
She's Nox. And then they continue. They're like, would you elaborate on this threat on the continent and why you believe, like, they're going back and forth. And Alistair's like, they're traveling with a known criminal. Are we going to trust anybody who's with Tanith the Red? Like, all of this. It's just a hot mess. And they're kind of, again, bickering back and forth. But then
she's also sizing up who could possibly be her ally in this.
She is. This whole time she's like reading the people and going back and forth.
And she already knows that Kassar is an ally with the way he verbalized his not detest, but like his annoyance that they haven't done anything
about the church. Yes. And then she introduces Gadriel to because he like kind of motions to her that he wants to speak. And he says, if the question is Nox's claim to the throne, we'd be happy to procure any evidence within our means while in Sulgrave. If you prefer to cross the frozen straits and venture onto the continent for your confirmation, you'd also glean whatever you needed to know, and we encourage you to do so. In the meantime, I propose we address the issue at hand. Is there any reason to either confirm or deny that parties within Sulgrave's church have been charged with violent missions? And that gets their attention. They kind of are like, oh. And then as they're, hold on. Ryu of Territory 5, kind of saves the day because Alistair starts to be rude to Nox, and Gadriel is starting to get feisty.
Yeah, he needs to watch it.
Ryu comes to their rescue and ends the meeting. And as they are leaving, she hands a note to Yaslin, who just happens to be the closest to her. And it has a time and an address. And Yaslin goes, do we go? Obviously you go.
Had to.
Right? Yeah. Like, obviously. And that's the end of chapter 18.
Chapter 19 was honestly kind of sad for me because
yes.
It was only like 2 pages, and it was all from
Tanith's
point of view. She's obviously in prison. She's in a jail cell. She's just in there, and she's talking about she doesn't want her people to think of her this way. And so she's like talking about her people, and then she kind of like goes more into description about who her people are. And she goes, my people are an orphan and a demigoddess and 2-winged fae and this person
military,
and then she goes,
they were warriors.
Yeah, and then she's like, and then my person, and then talks about Ash, and I was like, she don't give a fuck about her people no more. She has new people.
And she knew leading them to Sulgrave and going back to Sulgrave that this would happen, that she would be in prison. She knew all of that. And instead of telling them, knowing that they would then come up with a different plan, she helped them and didn't even try to protect herself. Partially because she knows that she's done wrong in the past, but also like because she loves them. They're her family. And I'm like, oh. I know.
I was like, okay, a daring rescue mission is going to happen, or at least it better
Absolutely.
happen if all else
Yes.
fails.
Yes. Absolutely. And that, like you said, was a very short chapter. So we're on to chapter 20.
The last chapter.
Yeah, the last chapter of this episode. So immediately, Yaslin is cracking me up. It's just like, she says, she's like, how are we supposed to make sense of this address? Because, you know, they're in a different country, basically. So, like,
Yeah,
addresses
they
are
don't know
different.
anything. Mm-hmm.
And Ash was like, we could ask the concierge how to find it. And they're all like, dumbass, we can't do that. Like,
Yeah.
and Knox is like, get your cloaks. This is something we learn on our feet. Yaz, go flirt with a man and ask for the best alehouse in walking distance. And Yaz is like, flirt with a man? It literally says she makes a gagging noise, flirt with a man. And Amaris is like, I'll do it. And she's like, I wasn't very good at it. I think that he just gave me an address to get me to leave him alone. And then Knox makes some kind of comment about, like, she grumbles a comment about sending a girl to do a woman's job. And I'm
It's
just
fine.
cracking up.
Because in the next page or two, you'll actually see, they actually will get to see Knox in action, which is, she's like, man, they've never seen me do blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, they really haven't.
No, they haven't. And she is a master at work. So they're like, Amaris goes, for fuck's sake, ask for directions. And Gadriel's like, we don't need to ask for directions. And Knox is like, I've got this. And
don't worry.
She charms a Fey man into walking her to the 5th, what do they call it? Territory 5.
Yeah, the 5th sector area.
And she says that she's going to her aunt's house, and everybody else is like staying hidden and following them. And she's like, I'm traveling here. I'm not from here. I'm completely turned around. And she just keeps him talking. Like, she asks him about what food she should try. He becomes like a tour guide and starts telling her about shops, histories, a little bit of gossip about Kassar from Territory 4. Like, and she's getting as much information from him as she can.
Wooing him, because then she's like, well, you know, you shouldn't know where I put my head at night, but after we've had less to drink, we should go on a date.
Yeah.
And you know what? It works. It gets him away.
It does. And so they get to this house, and Rio is there, and Elswith
Wait, hold on. There's something that's so funny right before that,
okay.
though. Because as soon as they essentially reach this house, she turns around and walks back to the group and goes, and that's how it's done. and Yaz goes, or no, Ash says, she pulled something similar to get us from Priori into Obeyed. And she goes, that's right. Noble Sir Vescus, our hero. Yazin goes, good to know our queen is infamous for her deceit. And I was like, you need to add and flattery to that.
Yes.
Because it's true. But honestly, how else were they going to do it? None of them are going to do it.
Right. They were going to have to ask somebody and potentially get themselves caught or something.
Can you imagine just like this guy sobers up and then he just sees who this woman is like later on after, like, I don't know if trade routes will ever be like made up, but like what if, and he's just like, oh shit.
It's a human and a succubus, like,
yeah, like this half-fae person just flirted with me and she's the queen of the south.
and all of his buddies are like, sure she did. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the queen of the south definitely flirted with you. Sure. All right,
Yeah.
now they went into the house when Ryu's there.
Yes, Ryu and Elswith of 3 and Kassar of Territory 4. And these were the 3 that Nox was thinking were going to be on their side in her head. So they're trying all of this new food. And she says even the utensils proved a challenge to navigate. And I'm like, what kind of fucking utensils are they? Like, are they chopsticks? Like, what's happening?
That's exactly what I thought. I was like, if she asks for soup spoons to come out for the soup, what were they using?
Right. Like, chopsticks is the only
Forks?
thing I could think of.
Yeah, I was like, oh. I do like, though, as they're talking about the church and, like, all the problems and, like, the speaker, and they're just, like, learning more and more about, like, I don't want to say culture, but, like, the status of the church
Yeah.
within Soulgrave. I'm like, I really like that Piper CJ, like, drew from real life to put into the story.
Yeah.
Because this is a very, like, keeping state and church separate kind
Yeah.
of situation, but not really.
Yep. I also really, really want to know who the speaker is because I think that
It's a she. I first thought it was the guy from Sector 1.
yeah, nope, it's a she.
I think it's possibly the girl from Sector 2.
I don't know. I feel
Ooh,
like
maybe it's somebody we don't know.
it's either somebody we don't know or it's like somebody we know of. Like maybe it's Moray's mom or you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, I actually I thought about that too. I was like, what if it's like Murray?
right.
But not like
or like
the
some relation of
yeah.
Millicent. Like I'm like,
Yeah, and I was like, that's weird. Specifically for that. So like it's gotta be somebody who wants revenge on the South.
yes. And then on page 243, first of all, we didn't talk about what Ryu looks like, but Nox, when she first saw Ryu, was like, hey girl, because she's got like half of her head shaved, the other half of her hair is long, and she's got like dark hair, she's attractive. And Nox was like, hey girl. But
So much so that she actually made a comment. She goes, my heart belongs to 2 people already.
yes. But now,
she's looking at
she's
her little
giving some
buddy Yaz
eyes.
over there.
She's giving some eyes to Yaslin, and I'm like, yes.
Damn.
Sorry for screaming in your ears, but I'm so excited because Yaslin deserves another love story. She had a love story, she had an epic love, and it was great, and it ended.
Not bitterly.
Yeah, like
it was a bitter prior to the ending.
Yeah, like
if she wasn't so weird about things, maybe.
Yeah, and so now there's a potential flirtation at the very least for Yaslin, and I am excited about it.
Yes. Because she like just couldn't she like lingered too long on Yaz for a bit.
Yes. And then they start talking about the church and
they find out that Gadriel's parents are actually involved in it too.
Yes.
And they searched them out.
Yes. And they're helping like against the church.
Yeah.
And they're talking about Tanith, and we've learned that like not everyone in Soulgrave abuses their power like Tanith does and uses blood magic and all of that, which is important because one of their big worries was that how are we supposed to defend ourselves against this country when everybody can do this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
like this so that's a problem.
Yes, not actually something it's actually forbidden to do that in Sulgrave. So then they kind of
They ain't
start
gotta worry
talking.
about it.
Yeah. And then they start talking about that Knox should go to a church service to see like how it happens there and how things go. And Knox would be
But no one else.
yeah, Knox is the only one that could go, because in Soulgrave, dark hair is the most common. So Ash and Amaris are out. The winged fae, unless they can glamour their feathers to match the white seraphim, um, they're out. So Knox is the only one that could potentially pass for Soulgrave fae. And then they kind of keep talking, and then all of a sudden,
there's a knock at the door.
There's a knock at the door. And it was clear from the way the servant breathed her name that the woman at the door had not been invited. It's Demir, I think is how you pronounce it.
Yeah,
I didn't look. That one's probably in the front of the book.
It is. It's
okay.
Demir.
Okay. She shows up and she says, "Are we here to discuss the way the speaker is damning the Allmother with her corruption of the church?" And that is the last sentence of chapter 20 and where we were stopping for this episode.
Get in, Demir. We're super in the... Well, that fucked up. We're taking over the church.
Yeah. So that happened. And it was potentially another ally. Although I don't quite trust her. Because did she follow them there? Like, how are you here? How did you know this gathering was happening? Yeah.
It's years. I don't know.
Sketchy. So.
Yeah, it's definitely not something they should
Yeah. Sketch.
Yeah, they need to think about it.
Yeah, they definitely need to be cautious about that one.
Yeah.
Because what? So
maybe she's more religious based and she's just like, no, fuck this bitch.
Yeah, because she was like, the speaker is damning the Allmother. So like she is about the Allmother and thinks that the Allmother is being done wrong. So
yeah.
We'll find out in the next episode, I guess. But
yeah. Until next time.
Bye.